My grandmother's sister sold us all to the devil. Now, we were the devil's wives, and every third child we bore was conceived by him. When I learned the truth, I was horrified, because both my mother and my sister had been sacrificed to the devil. Their throats slit. There was only one way to end this curse: a ritual.
The deal with the devil. Her name was Eliza. Her mother, her sister, and they were all heirs to the sins of the same woman. There was once a woman in their family, Marjorie Vexley, her grandmother's sister. In the family, she was always called Mad Marjorie, but no one knew she had sold them to the devil. Marjorie practiced black magic. She performed hundreds of rituals just to see the devil. Even once, and finally, one Sunday, in the abandoned Holleridge church, she sacrificed a poor goat. She filled a bowl with its blood and drank it savagely. That moment, God's mercy left her. The veil over her eyes lifted, and the devil's shadow fell over her. Her sanity shattered. The words that came from her mouth were no longer her own. Sometimes Latin, sometimes a language no one could recognize. At night, she would scream from the rooftop of the church, "Oh, happy fault, that earned such and so great a redeemer." But Marjorie's soul couldn't bear the pain for long. She wanted to run, to pull back, but the devil would not let her. Until one day, Marjorie said to him, "Let go of me, but take someone from my bloodline instead. You can have one of my children." And that was the day the pact was made, written in blood. From then on, every third child born from her bloodline would have to be sacrificed to the devil. But the devil was not impatient. He waited for them to come of age, and one by one, they vanished, mysteriously, silently. Years later, Eliza found an old box in the attic. Inside was Marjorie's sketchbook. Every page was filled with terrifying symbols, and on one page, she had written, "I spilled the first blood, but the final blood will spill in the house where I died. That house is still open." So Eliza went to the house where her mother disappeared, where her sister screamed for the last time, where Marjorie died and rotted. The walls were crumbling, etched with demonic carvings. The floor still stained with the blood of sacrificed animals. She lit a single candle and whispered, "Take me, too. But take this curse with me." And in that moment, a breath came from within the wall. The ceiling creaked, and Marjorie's voice, like a whisper, echoed in her ear. "Welcome, third child." It was midnight. The moon was covered in fog. There was only one candle burning in Marjorie's ruined house. Eliza, with trembling hands, picked up a small knife. She whispered the ancient words Marjorie had written in the sketchbook. "Let the one consecrated in blood open the gate." Then she cut her palm. The blood fell drop by drop onto the floorboard. The wood drank it in as if it were alive. And then, the candle went out. Time fractured. Eliza was no longer there. Around her, human-like figures appeared, but they weren't human. Their eyes were pitch black, like tar. No irises, only void. Their veins were swollen, nearly bursting, and all of them were doing the same thing, reaching for Eliza, their faces twisted in agony, begging her silently, their mouths open in wordless screams. But no sound came. Then, in the distance, a deep red light began to glow. The sky darkened. A giant silhouette emerged. Its footsteps echoed like bells from the underworld. It moved toward the figures, and one by one, it tore off their heads with its hands, slowly, deliberately, with pain. As blood filled the space, the silhouette vanished, without a word. Eliza woke up with a scream ripping from her throat. Her palm was still bleeding, but the floor beneath her was dry, as if nothing had happened, but it had. She immediately reached for the sketchbook. She began flipping through pages she hadn't noticed before. On every page, women with their throats slit were drawn. Some were depicted praying, some chained, but on one page, there was her mother. She recognized her by her eyes. On another, her sister. Drawn with her head slumped to the side, her eyes wide open. And now, Eliza was certain. These weren't random drawings. They were the women Marjorie had sacrificed to the devil. They were drawn with Marjorie's eyes. And now, Eliza was about to take their place. Midnight had passed. The wind howled. The darkness stirred in places. There was no moon in the sky, only pitch-black clouds and crows. Dozens of them lined the naked tree branches in the yard, all of them silent, all of them watching Eliza. Her hands were trembling. When she plunged the shovel into the soil, she let out a scream. She was crying, but she kept digging. The earth was cold, wet, and hard as stone. But Eliza was resolute. If the curse is real, the corpse won't have decayed. Finally, the shovel struck wood, a coffin, moss-covered, broken, rotting. She scraped the dirt away with her nails, then dropped to her knees in silence. She placed her bleeding palm on the coffin lid and began to pray quietly. God, I'm committing this sin for the sake of their souls. If you will forgive me, forgive only for their freedom. Then she opened the cursed coffin. The body inside hadn't decayed. Marjorie Vexley looked as though she had died only yesterday. Her skin was still pale pink. Her hair hadn't fallen out. Even her eyelashes remained. But her eyes were open. Her pupils stared upward, not at the ceiling, at something else. Eliza drew back. She couldn't breathe from the fear. But then she screamed to herself, I have to do this for my family. I have to bring peace to their souls. She pulled the knife from inside her coat. The only part of her that didn't tremble was her resolve. She aimed for Marjorie's chest and plunged the blade into her heart. A sound rang out like the tearing of flesh. Then, warm blood sprayed from Marjorie's chest. Her veins were still pulsing, which meant only her body had died. Her soul was still here, without blinking. Eliza reached in and tore the heart out with her bare hand. It was soft, but heavy, as if it was filled with screams. Eliza dropped to her knees. The soil was now soaked in blood. The crows began to shriek. The sky turned blood red, as if the horizon itself was the gate of hell. Eliza whispered, Devil, I return to you the heart of the woman you claimed, but in exchange, you will release their souls. The wind stopped. The crows fell silent. And then, a voice rose from beneath the ground. It was no human voice, nor animal, just a single word, echoed like a curse. The heart is not enough. Blood is owed. The heart is not enough. ... Blood is owed. The words echoed in the darkness of the night, not just in her ears, but beneath the ground, between the branches, inside the sky itself. Eliza stood up, her eyes wide with fear. She looked around, just for a moment, and then Marjorie's grave cracked. The earth bulged, and a heavy stench rose from the soil, rotting flesh and sulfur. But this time, it wasn't Marjorie who emerged from the grave. Standing before Eliza was a child, hanging upside down from a tree, suspended by the ankles. The body was dry, but looked as if it had only recently died, and the head slowly turned toward Elisa. Eliza screamed and ran. No, this can't be real. As she reached the tree, she looked into the child's eyes, but they weren't black. They were completely hollow, just empty sockets. And yet, he could still see. Then suddenly, the child whispered. The third child was not sacrificed. Eliza stumbled back, her feet tangled. She fell to the ground. The child was still hanging, but now he was smiling. He had no mouth, but his face had twisted into the shape of a grin. Eliza turned her head. The child still hung in the air, but now she noticed something on the tree trunk. Symbols, identical to those in Marjorie's sketchbook, carved deep into the bark. Next to them, a date, 1958, the year her mother was born, and on the child's wrist, she saw the last name, Mournfield. In that moment, Eliza understood. This was one of the children who should have been sacrificed, but wasn't. And now, he had been taken before his time. The debt had never been paid, and the curse had grown. Now, it wasn't Eliza's turn. It was another child from her bloodline. Eliza dropped to her knees, weeping. Marjorie's heart was still warm in her lap, but her eyes weren't on the hanging child anymore. They drifted to the cell phone in her pocket. She remembered the message from her niece that morning. "Auntie, did you remember my birthday? 6 months till I turn 18. And Eliza understood. The devil is still waiting, and the next third child is her. Eliza was on her knees, tears mixing with the dirt, each breath shaking the sky. She still held Marjorie's heart in her hands, its warmth not yet gone. But now, she knew who the heart was meant for. No, I can't do this to someone else again. The only person who's ever truly loved me, my own blood. I won't offer her to the devil." Eliza looked up at the sky. The darkness tried to pull her in, but she refused to be swallowed. She screamed at the heavens, "I will not do this. I will not become like you. Sinful, perverse." There was only wind around her, and the silent crows still watching. Eliza stood up. She pressed the blade against her chest. "Take my life. I offer myself as your sacrifice. Just stop cursing innocent souls. They don't belong to you. My body is enough." Darkness surrounded her, and then the dead child's body appeared before her. But this time, it didn't descend from the sky. It felt as though it had been born from Eliza's agony. The child extended his hand, his face blank, eyeless. He was waiting for something, and Eliza understood. He wanted her heart. Eliza clenched her teeth, turned the blade toward her chest, closed her eyes, took a deep breath. But just as the knife was about to pierce her heart, a voice echoed, "The curse has ended. You owe me no more blood, Eliza." Suddenly, everything fell silent. The crows flew away. The earth stopped shifting. The sky returned to normal. The child disappeared, and Eliza collapsed to the ground, alone in the silence. Hours passed. The sun had risen. Eliza leaned her head against the stone steps of the ruined house. Her face was tired, but peaceful. And just then, her phone rang. It was her niece's mother. The name flashing on the screen made her chest tighten. She answered the call. The voice on the other end was trembling, sobbing. "Eliza, she's gone. She was hit by a car. They couldn't save her." Around 3 a.m., just before dawn, Elisa dropped the phone. The world turned again, but this time, not just around her, inside her. The devil had accepted her sacrifice, but he didn't take the body she offered. He took the one she loved most. Maybe the curse was broken, but the chains of grief still hung around her neck. Eliza looked up at the sky. A single tear rolled down her cheek, and she whispered, "There was nothing I could do, but their souls are still writhing in pain." Welcome to Lucifer's Rituals. Today, we've gathered to investigate the legend of the gas station's devil-worshipping serial killer. According to police records, this incident happened exactly 30 years ago. A serial killer and around 15 unfortunate victims. Many paranormal investigators who have explored the area claim that Salem, the killer, is still performing his rituals. But how is that possible? According to the records, Salem died nearly 30 years ago. No more waiting. Let's begin the investigation. The wind howled through the trees, sending dry leaves skittering across the road. Jake and Ryan stood by the roadside, camera rolling. They had only a flashlight and a small backpack with them. The road was empty. The silence was eerie. Jake turned to the camera with a slight smirk. "Hey, everyone. Tonight, we're bringing you what might be our scariest investigation yet. We're about to walk to Salem's abandoned gas station, a place where, 30 years ago, a series of brutal murders took place. Rumor has it that Salem's spirit still haunts the area. Real or fake? We're here to find out." Ryan shifted the camera, capturing the empty, unsettling landscape around them. Jake continued, "As you all know, we investigate paranormal stories submitted by our followers. This gas station's legend has been sent to us by hundreds of people. If the stories are true, we'll find traces of Salem tonight." He paused, glancing toward the dark forest behind him, then took a deep breath. "Now, we know we're not alone out here. You're with us. So drop a comment below, help us investigate, and if you spot anything weird, let us know just like detectives." Ryan gave a small nod, refocusing the camera on Jake. Jake adjusted his backpack and narrowed his eyes. "All right, are you ready? Because we're heading straight for Salem's station." They turned on their flashlights and started walking down the dark road. Every step was accompanied by the whisper of wind and the rustling of leaves. The deeper they went, the eerier the night became. Suddenly, a distant dog barked. Jake and Ryan froze, glancing around. The barking grew louder, echoing through the darkness. Jake swallowed hard and turned to the camera. "They say dogs can see things we can't. If there's something here, they've probably sensed it first." Ryan panned the camera around, but nothing was visible. Yet the barking intensified. Multiple dogs now, reacting to something unseen. Then, a faint rustling sound came from the forest. Jake swung his flashlight toward the noise. Branches swayed, leaves tumbled, but nothing was there. Just as they were about to move on, a sharp, metallic noise cut through the silence. It sounded like a blade being sharpened. Ryan jerked the camera in the direction of the sound, but by the time the light reached the spot, everything was still. "You've got to be kidding me," Jake whispered. As they walked, faint noises followed them like footsteps, just beyond their reach. At one point, Ryan spun around, camera shaking, convinced he'd heard a twig snap behind him, but no one was there. Jake let out a nervous chuckle. If Salem's spirit is really here, it seems like he enjoys playing games first. Ryan remained silent, his grip tightening on the camera. They picked up the pace, their breaths quickening as tension filled the air. Finally, the gas station came into view. As it did, a cold gust of wind rushed past them, rattling tree branches and lifting dead leaves into the air. Jake shivered, pulling his jacket tighter. This place is even creepier than I imagined. Then, as Jake walked, his foot crunched down on something unusual. A hollow, brittle sound echoed under his shoe. Ryan aimed the camera down, eyes widening. "Jake, you just stepped on bones." Jake leaped back, cursing. "What? No way!" Ryan shone his light on the ground. Splintered bones, darkened with age and stained with something ominous. Could it be animal bones? Ryan's voice trembled with uncertainty. Jake crouched, hesitating before picking up a piece. The bone was cracked, discolored. Ryan zoomed in. This looks human," Jake murmured. Another gust of wind swept through the trees, and suddenly, a faint whispering sound drifted through the air. It was distant, guttural, impossible to decipher. Jake and Ryan exchanged wide-eyed glances. Ryan's voice wavered. "Maybe we should leave." Jake turned to the camera, his jaw tightening. "No, we came here to find the truth. If this is really a human bone, then this story might be real." They pressed forward, despite the warning in their instincts. The gas station loomed ahead, and deep inside, something told them to turn back, but it was too late. A strange silence blanketed the area. The streets were empty, no signs of life. Yet, parked in front of the gas station was an old car. The headlights were on. Jake and Ryan froze. "What the hell?" Ryan whispered, zooming in on the vehicle. Jake swallowed, stepping closer. This place has been abandoned for 30 years. So why is there a car here? Ryan nervously scanned the area. Is someone inside? Jake lifted his flashlight, trying to peer through the windshield. The glass was thick with dust and grimed, too filthy to see through. Then, from inside the car, a faint creaking noise echoed. The rearview mirror trembled, as if something had just brushed against it. A loud bang erupted from inside the gas station. Jake and Ryan jumped. They locked eyes. Then Jake, voice unsteady, whispered, "I think we're being invited inside." Ryan clutched the camera tighter. Is this really a good idea? But turning back was no longer an option. Inside, they found candles still burning, objects untouched despite decades of abandonment. A fresh bottle of water sat on a table. Someone had been here recently. A foul, acidic stench filled the air. It wasn't just an old building. It was a ritual site. Glass jars filled with human eyes lined the shelves. Severed fingers floated in murky liquid. Symbols, drawn in what looked like blood, covered the walls. Then footsteps outside. A shadow darted past the window. The building trembled with sudden force. Windows rattled. Something was watching them, and it wasn't hiding anymore. Then silence. A radio crackled to life from outside. The sound came from the old car. They stepped toward it, cautiously. As they approached, they saw something they hadn't noticed before. A corpse sat in the driver's seat. Fresh, and it hadn't been there when they arrived. Jake and Ryan were frozen in terror. Whoever put the body there was still nearby. Realizing they needed to act fast, Jake pulled 2 small mirrors from his bag. "Ryan, take this. If this is Salem's spirit, we have one shot at stopping it." Agonized screams filled the air. Though unseen, Salem was there. Jake's hands trembled as he lit the remaining candles. The ritual had begun. The voices grew louder, the walls vibrating. Ryan's breath hitched. "Jake, hurry. He's suffering." Jake's voice was firm. "If we don't stop him now, he'll haunt us forever. We can't take that risk." With one final incantation, Jake grabbed a stone from the floor and shattered both mirrors. Everything went silent. The candles flickered out. A cold wind swept through the station. Jake and Ryan bolted, running as fast as their legs could carry them. But they failed to notice one thing. The abandoned car and the corpse had vanished. Welcome to the Lucifer's Rituals channel. Tonight, we're heading to a place that even the most fearless paranormal investigators wouldn't dare to enter. The cursed house of the man who was said to be married to the demoness Nama. We will spend the night in this house to see with our own eyes if the legend is real. But we need your help on this journey. We might experience hundreds of paranormal events. And sometimes, we may miss important details. So please, watch closely like a detective. If you hear or see anything unusual, let us know in the comments. Jake asks Ryan what time it is. Ryan responds, saying it's 2:30 a.m.
Hey Ryan, can you show the time on your phone to the camera?
Oh, of course. Look, guys, it's already past 2:30 a.m.
You know, after midnight, the Ifrits are released. We need to be extremely careful. Ryan, do you have anything to add?
Ryan gives a short but firm response.
Let's just get started.
Jake and Ryan walk through a pitch-dark, desolate forest, their footsteps crunching against the dried leaves. The moonlight barely filters through the thick branches above, casting eerie shadows along the path. Suddenly, a sharp rustling sound comes from their right, stopping them in their tracks.
What? What was that?
Jake whispers, shakily pointing the camera towards the sound. Ryan scans the area.
Jack, probably just an animal. Let's keep going.
But as soon as they take another step, a branch snaps on their left. Both freeze. The camera trembles as Jake quickly shines his flashlight towards the noise. But there's nothing there.
I really don't like this.
In the distance, an enormous, decayed wooden structure appears. As they get closer, they notice the old wooden shutters slightly swaying in the wind. The rusted iron gate at the entrance looks untouched for decades, its engravings faded, yet still eerie.
Do you think coming to this house was the right move? Ryan, I don't know if you realize how serious this is, but if we end up seeing Nama or her husband, we could be in way more danger than we thought.
I know, Jake, but we've come this far, and I really don't want to leave without seeing something. Look at this place, it's completely rusted. I swear no one has set foot in here for at least 100 years.
I can feel the temperature dropping even more. Dude, remember the sounds we heard on the way here? And right now, it feels like someone or something is watching us.
Come on, Jake, I whispered a few prayers I know. I hope they work and protect us from the demons, even just a little. You know Nama's story, Jake.
All right, we're almost at the house. Just look at how majestic it looks. It's falling apart, but it's like something, maybe even a spell, keeping it from collapsing. This place looks even more terrifying than the stories say.
Jake lifts the camera and points it towards the house. Just then, a shadow moves across the second-floor window. Ryan's excitement from earlier was completely gone.
Did we get that? Please tell me we got that on film.
I swear, I saw something in the window. It looked human, but Ryan, I'm losing my mind. No one could live in a place like this. It's impossible.
I want to check the camera footage, dude. Come on, there really was a shadow there. But I swear to you, man, that thing, it couldn't have been human.
Jake and Ryan, shaken by what they just saw, hesitate to enter the house and decide to start their investigation from the yard instead. The wild grass has grown so tall that it nearly reaches their height. Taking a deep breath, they step into the overgrown yard. As they push open the front door, a wave of rotting wood and mold hits them. Jake raises the camera, capturing the moment they cross the threshold into legend.
I see bugs and spiders everywhere. That alone should be proof that no one lives here. I think we might be the first people to come here in decades.
Make sure to film everything. Look, there's a pickaxe and a few shovels. I really hope this isn't some kind of ritual sign. And honestly, I don't even want to say it. But if I have to mention part of the story, after Nama married that man, she demanded 3 sacrifices as her dowry, and they had to be buried in the ground. But she also made one thing clear: the sacrifices wouldn't be animals. Do you get what I'm saying, Jake?
The mere thought of stumbling upon a few dead bodies made Jake and Ryan tremble with fear. All they wanted was to capture a few glimpses of spirits or demons. But as they carefully scanned their surroundings, they suddenly heard what sounded like footsteps coming from the upper floor. It was as if something was trying to make them feel its presence, as if it knew they were here.
Stay quiet, Jake. I swear I hear footsteps coming from upstairs.
I thought I was just hearing things. But you hear those footsteps too.
It was finally time to enter the house. After coming all this way, there was no turning back. As they approached the house, they shined their flashlights at the windows. It seemed like dark shadows were passing by each window at intervals. They thought they were starting to hallucinate out of fear. But one question never crossed their minds. How could we both see the same hallucination?
Jake, something is wrong here, man. If only one of us saw it, I'd brush it off. But we're both seeing the exact same thing at the same time. How is that even possible?
I don't know, but this is turning into something way darker than we thought. Let's just get inside, set up those damn cameras, and get the hell out of here.
Mumbling to themselves, they made their way to the front door. Luckily for them, the house had fallen into ruin, and the door had long since been freed from its lock. With a slight push, it creaked open all the way. It was eerie.
Look how old this house is, man. What the hell? I swear I heard footsteps from here. But in a wreck like this, neither a human nor an animal could live.
Watch where you step. Bro, a rusty nail or worse, anything could be here. A dead animal, a spell, or even a trap.
The house looks abandoned for years. The furniture is decayed, the walls covered in damp stains, and the floorboards creak with every step. Cobwebs hang from the ceiling like forgotten curtains. They had entered the ground floor of the house, but as they were talking among themselves, footsteps could once again be heard from upstairs. Then, suddenly, a window started slamming violently. It hit so hard that they thought the ground shook slightly. But the strangest part, there wasn't even the slightest breeze in the air at that moment. Both of them looked at each other in utter fear. Breathing had become increasingly difficult. Maybe it was their fear, but the air inside the house felt unbearably cold.
Did we just capture that?
This isn't a joke. We need to go upstairs.
As they ascend the staircase, every step groans beneath their weight. The upstairs hallway stretches before them, lined with old doors. One door at the end of the hall stands slightly ajar. When they push it open, they find something horrifying. As their eyes adjusted to the eerie dimness of the room, they realized the horrifying truth. What stood before them was no ordinary place. It was a shrine, an unholy altar meant to summon Nama into the world. Strange symbols were carved into the rotting wooden walls, pulsating faintly as if alive. At the center, surrounded by melted candles and dried bloodstains, lay an ancient book, its pages open to a language neither of them could understand. The air felt thick, suffocating, as if something unseen was watching them. Then, the candles flickered, violently despite the stillness of the air. A distant whisper slithered through the room, calling their names.
This is a ritual space. Someone summoned something here.
Ryan, look.
Ryan lifts his head, and standing in the doorway is a shadowy figure. It has the shape of a man, but its face. It's the very man from the legend, the one said to be married to Nama. Both stand frozen. The figure tilts its head slightly, staring at them. Though its face is obscured in darkness, its glowing eyes pierce through the shadows. The camera starts distorting, static hissing through the speakers. Ryan lets out a strangled scream and shoves the door shut, grabbing Jake's arm as they sprint out of the room. They race down the stairs as a deep growl shakes the house. The wooden steps behind them begin to collapse, splintering apart as if something is tearing them down. Reaching the door, Jake takes one final glance back, lifting the camera. The figure stands at the top of the staircase. Its face finally becomes visible. And it is not human. It is something far darker. Jake and Ryan let out terrified screams and bolt down the forest path, running for their lives. Sitting in the car, panting, Jake's hands are still shaking.
I can't believe what we recorded there. What the hell did we do? Please like this video. Just look at what we went through for you. That was definitely the man who was married to Nama.
That thing, it was watching us, and I think it still is.
If you're watching this video, whatever you do, don't go to that house.